It was a night that started like any other, but quickly spiraled into something I'll never forget. I was just 15 years old, barely old enough to be making any real decisions about my life, yet old enough to be treated like I didn't have a voice. That night, I asked my dad if I could go to the gym. A simple, innocent request. But instead of the understanding I hoped for, I was met with a look that was nothing short of condescending. He laughed at me, right in my face, like my question wasn't even worth considering. His laugh wasn't a joyful one, it was dismissive. It felt like I was nothing but a joke to him. I could see in his eyes that he thought I was being ridiculous, that I didn't deserve to go to the gym. I don't even remember exactly what I said in response, but I know I told him that he was patronizing me. That was all it took. In a flash, the mood shifted. I saw his expression darken, and before I even had time to process what was happening, he splashed an entire can of beer in my face. The cold, bitter liquid hit me with such force, I could feel the sting on my skin as it soaked through my clothes. The smell of it, sharp, pungent, lingered in my nostrils as he stormed towards me. And then it started. He shoved me, hard, and I stumbled backwards, but he wasn't done. The force of his blows sent me staggering, and he followed me up the stairs as I tried to retreat to the safety of my room. The pain in my body was nothing compared to the humiliation of it all. Every step I took toward my bedroom felt like I was walking toward my own personal prison. He didn't stop. His fists and his words came at me like a storm. It felt like the punishment wasn't just for what I had said. It was like he was punishing me for existing, for daring to stand up to him. I couldn't understand what had triggered him so much, but I knew that it wasn't because I had done anything truly wrong. I had simply tried to ask for something normal, something that every other kid my age could have taken for granted. When I finally made it to my bedroom, gasping for breath, the fight wasn't over. I felt the sticky residue of beer drying on my skin, my clothes soaked in the stuff. I lay in bed that night, smelling like the very thing that had been thrown in my face. I couldn't shake the feeling, the overwhelming sense of disgust, not just from the beer, but from the way my father had treated me. I didn't sleep well. How could I? I woke up the next morning still smelling like beer, the stench that clung to me as I tried to get ready for school. My peers had no idea what had happened. They didn't know that the night before, I had been violently pushed to my breaking point by the person who was supposed to love and protect me. And yet, I went to school. I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't tell anyone what had happened. Who would believe me? How could I explain what had just occurred without sounding like I was making it up? The only thing I could do was put on a mask and pretend that everything was okay. But nothing was okay. I wasn't okay. I was 15. I didn't drink, but I was covered in the smell of it. That night, my father had taken away more from me than just my dignity. He took away my sense of safety, my belief that I could trust him. And I went to school the next day, carrying that heavy, bitter scent with me, an invisible reminder of what I had endured. Update. I didn't expect the response I got from my first post. The messages, the comments, the support. I didn't think so many people would understand what I went through. I honestly didn't know if I was the only one, but reading your messages, it was like I wasn't alone anymore. Some of you shared your stories with me, and it made me feel seen for the first time in a long while. But I also got a lot of people asking why I didn't tell anyone, why I didn't just leave or call someone or speak up sooner. And you know what? It's complicated. It's hard to explain. But when you're in a situation like this, it's not as simple as just walking away. I've been conditioned to believe that this is just how things are supposed to be. The way he treats me, the way he acts, it's been this way for years, but I never thought it would go this far. I kept thinking it would stop, that things would go back to normal somehow. After that night, things didn't exactly improve. If anything, it felt like things were getting worse. I tried to avoid him as much as I could. I spent more time out of the house, finding excuses to stay at friends' houses, trying to distract myself with school or whatever I could to escape the tension. But that night, after everything happened, he didn't apologize. He didn't acknowledge it. In fact, when I came home the next day, he acted like it never happened at all, like nothing had changed. And for a while, it felt like I was the one who was losing it. like maybe I was overreacting, that maybe I had deserved it somehow. There were moments when I even started to doubt myself. That's what makes it so confusing, this mixture of love and fear. The love is still there, at least it feels like it, even though it's twisted up in anger and manipulation. And the fear? The fear is all-consuming. You start to believe that you don't matter, that your needs or your feelings aren't worth anything. But the thing is, I've started to realize that I do matter. Even if he can't see it, I do. And I don't have to just accept this. I'm still figuring out how to move forward. I've been reaching out to a few people, a counselor at school, a friend who's been through something similar. I've been reading more about abuse and control, and I think I'm starting to see that I don't have to keep living like this. But it's hard. Every step feels like I'm walking on broken glass. I'm scared, but I'm starting to understand that I don't have to be afraid of him anymore. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I'm trying to be stronger. I'll keep you updated. Thanks again to everyone who reached out. You've helped me more than you'll ever know. Final update. It feels surreal to finally be writing this. I didn't think I would be here, sharing this with you all, especially after everything that happened. But I feel like I owe it to myself and to all of you to give you the final chapter of my story. After the last update, I tried to focus on getting help. I continued seeing the counselor at school, and I started talking more to my friends. I was afraid they'd judge me, but I was wrong. They listened, they cared, and they kept telling me I didn't deserve to live like this. But the most important thing was the counselor. She helped me start seeing the bigger picture, that what happened wasn't normal. It wasn't something I should just brush off. She helped me understand that the abuse wasn't my fault, that it wasn't something I had brought on myself. And for the first time, I started to believe that I deserved better. It wasn't easy. Every day felt like a battle, and there were times when I felt like I was slipping back into the fear and silence that I'd grown so used to. My dad didn't change. In fact, after my last post, he became more distant, more angry. It was like he could sense that something was shifting in me, and he didn't like it. He'd still throw insults, and the coldness in his eyes when he looked at me. It felt like he was trying to break me again. But I didn't let it. Not this time. Then one night, it happened. Things escalated again, but this time, I didn't just sit there and take it. I called someone. I called a family member I trusted and asked for help. I couldn't stay in that house anymore, not with the way things were going. That night, I packed a bag, grabbed my things, and left. I'm living with my aunt now. She's been more than understanding and supportive. It's been a little over a month since I left, and every day feels like a breath of fresh air. There's no more walking on eggshells, no more feeling like I'm constantly waiting for the next explosion. I feel safe here. I feel heard. And most importantly, I feel like I have control over my life again. As for my dad, I've had some hard realizations. I've accepted that I may never get an apology from him. I may never hear him admit that he was wrong. But that's okay. I'm not waiting for that anymore. I don't need his approval or his love if it means sacrificing my peace. To everyone who sent messages, gave advice, or just offered support, thank you. You all gave me strength when I didn't know where to find it. I couldn't have done this without you. I'm still healing. I'm still figuring things out. But I'm proud of myself. I'm no longer that scared 15-year-old boy who felt like he didn't have a choice. I've learned that I have a right to stand up for myself, to speak my truth, and to choose the life I want to live. I'll never go back to living in fear again.